Hi there guys, hope you're all well. Welcome back to the channel. This video is a mixture of two things. So it's going to be potentially what links people that are affected by the Mandela effect. And I guess what I'm going to be doing, so this is probably the most personal video without a doubt that I'm going to be putting out. Initially, when I started talking about the Mandela effect, that was real personal, but this is, I'm basically going to give my views on, I wouldn't say everything because I don't know everything, but everything that I think that I know, or my perspective on things, literally from birth. So that's the point of this video. Hopefully it will resonate with other people out there. Hopefully people might think, oh, maybe that's why I see the Mandela effect as well, because still not everyone sees it. It's a very hard sell. To me, it's as clear as day that it's happening. So maybe something I will say along this journey of the video, I guess, if you will resonate with you, and maybe you'll think, oh, well, maybe that's why I see it as well. Okay, so yeah, so literally from birth. So I personally believe that we predetermine our paths that we come on this earth to achieve. I believe that we're all kind of a cog in a machine ultimately. So everyone is connected in one form or another. And everyone somewhat has a role to play out. That's what I truly believe. I believe that you even choose your parents, even if when you're younger you think, oh man, this has been why would I have chosen them as my parents? They were terrible, or whatever you may think about it. It's what makes you who you are now, those exact situations. And I've had people say to me with my belief system on that as well, they'll say like, well, how do you explain like a stillborn baby, a baby that's dead in the womb? Which I've known people that's happened to, family members and whatnot. I truly believe that was their purpose as well, because then that, with them happening to die in such a manner, would affect, say, the mother's mentality moving forward. It would maybe put a thought in there. It would maybe change a perspective on life. It would maybe make you realise how fragile life is. I mean, there's a plethora of outcomes for why that could be. It's almost impossible to hazard a guess as to say exactly what it would be, the reason for. So from birth, we are also taxable beings, which is quite damning in itself. I remember watching a documentary in the US where it was, if I remember, the term was called a straw man. Don't quote me on that term there, but yeah, you're basically a taxable being from birth, which leads me on to our general existence on this planet that we call Earth. I believe that we are a commodity from birth. We are very much like livestock, I guess is the best way to put it. We are somewhat cattle. And I do believe that we are enslaved in a system of manipulation, literally from the second we open our eyes on this planet, or the second we are born on this planet. Just in case anyone blind is watching this, I think that through one form or another, we are, intertwined in a system of manipulation and enslavement. Sorry guys, the reason I keep looking down is because I've got notes here, because there's a lot that I'm trying to remember. So literally from birth, you're then sent to school. I believe that school teaches us a way to think, which could limit thought dependent on the person. I in particular believe, because everyone is taught in the same way. Let's say you've got one teacher, you've got 30 kids in a classroom. That teacher is going to pretty much teach one style for the whole classroom. And it's been proven that people learn in different ways. Some people are more practical, visual, auditory. You've got different ways of learning. So if you're only being taught in one style, you could be potentially missing out things. You could be misinterpreting things. For example, we're taught how to spell. And I'm highlighting the word spell there because I've looked into this quite a bit with regard to magic, and I'm not a wizard, I'm not a magician or anything like that. I just research really weird things. But yeah, we're literally taught how to spell from a young age, sort of A, B, C, D, you get it, the alphabet. But think of the word there. We're taught how to spell. I don't want to go on that subject too much because that's a completely separate subject. Which leads me on to the power of words. So when we're taught how to spell, a lot of the words in the system and a lot of phrases don't always make literal sense. Power of words is a massive subject. So I've come from a sort of sales marketing background. So I completely understand the power of words and phrasing and suggestibility. There's also a topic called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. I've only ever touched on the subject, but it's very, very interesting how certain trigger words can make us react or think or do in a certain way. So I think that school is it is a form of programming, as in not creating robots, but if you're teaching everyone the same thing on one side of history, for example, we're the winners and they're the losers, or what have you. Much like politics nowadays, you've got certain people that I see brandished as maybe a terrorist, let's say, and I can't understand. Well, I can understand because of the person who's calling them a terrorist, but then I actually think that person is the terrorist. So again, schooling is a very subjective topic in the sense that it's one-sided a lot of the time. In particular in history. I would say, again, I'm not going to name specific examples. I'm only going to touch on everything that I'm saying here. Hopefully what I'm saying will resonate with people or make people think, maybe want to research something themselves. That's what the whole purpose of this channel. Okay, so from schooling we go to get jobs. So for most people, unless they're in a job that they love, which I haven't checked the statistics on that, but I would imagine that most people aren't in a job that they love. I think people can somewhat trick themselves into, I wouldn't say loving their job, but coming to terms with, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'll make the best of this situation. So I'll kind of do menial tasks to make the day go quicker. And then they almost end up enjoying it because they get used to it or maybe good at it, which is fair enough. But the average job, if you think about it, let's say a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So during that time, you're exerting a lot of energy. Typically, unless you're in a very well-paying job, you're typically exerting a lot of energy, not reaping a massive reward for it in reality. Because I think even when you look at 30k, 40k, 100k, whatever k you're looking at, I think that we are worth a whole lot more than that as individuals. But maybe our talents, our perspectives, our thoughts aren't being utilised in the way that they should be. But for me, time is more valuable than money. It's very hard to equate, let's say, 1 hour of your time and say, okay, you're going to get paid $20 for that 1 hour. Whereas I think personally, it's worth a lot more than that because of all the benefits that can come off that. Maybe, again, you could spark an idea in someone's mind that could then be worth $10 billion, for example. But yet you're only getting paid that $20 for that 1 hour, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm not waffling too much there. So it constantly leaves us on a lower energy field because we're always stressed. We have to make sure we're at work on time. You have to adhere to policies. You have to get your job done. You have to do this. You have to do that. It's very regimented. Typically, I'm not saying there aren't jobs out there that aren't like that, but I'm on about for the average person out there. So again, it's lowering our frequency in that level. And then you get the weekends off as somewhat of a reward, but you're just going to be recharging your batteries most of the time on that weekend. So you'll either be sleeping or unwinding, relaxing, taking it easy for Monday. So it's almost, again, a perpetual state of affairs there, where you're constantly living on this regime, I guess, is the best way to think about it. And let's go to money. So the money is the ultimate reason why most people do their job, to pay rent, to pay bills, to buy a new TV, new clothes, etc. When you look at money, I've just recently put some videos up on this account here that are cartoon videos of how money came about. Money isn't really worth anything. You go to the bank nowadays and say, can I trade this $10 for $10 worth of gold? Let's see what they say to you. It's literally not even worth the money it's printed on. But yet we would see people kill each other for a couple of £100 or dollars or whatnot. It's unbelievable, because it's when you look at the origins of it, I don't want to waffle on about the origins too much. Just watch the video previously, but it's all a system built on debt. So yeah, again, you really need to look into that to understand what I'm on about there. Which leads me on to consumerism. So right in the beginning, when I said about birth, that we are enslaved in a system of manipulation, consumerism is exactly that in my eyes. I used to be a massive consumer. When I had hair, I would get a haircut twice a week. I would have like a little diamond earring in my ear. I'd want the latest clothes, the latest trainers. Nowadays, I'm not really that bothered about it. As you can see, I'm wearing a plain t-shirt from Primark, £2.50. That's good enough for me. I don't really feel like I need anything more than that. But consumerism in general. So there's a film called They Live, which I'm sure most of you have probably seen, but those of you that haven't, try and get hold of that, because that explains consumerism. So it's done in a fictional format. However, I think it's more of a documentary than most documentaries out there. So it is literally, so I was in New York recently. You go to Times Square, it's overwhelming how many adverts or billboards there are all around you. You're literally being told, buy this, this will make you look this way, buy this product and you'll smell like this. It's almost overwhelming, and what our subconscious takes in is unbelievable. So imagine you're walking down a busy street. Your subconscious is going to be taking in everything. So the amount of buttons someone has on their shirt, the amount of squares that they have on their design, your subconscious will take in all of that information. So if you imagine all these adverts everywhere, whether you open up a magazine, whether it's on a TV station, whether it's on a billboard, your subconscious is taking in everything, but you're just not consciously aware of what's going on all the time. And then you've got false idols on the TV. So you've got people like the Kardashians that are idolized more than anyone, or you've got, let's say, a football player. It's just incredible to me that, because they don't really contribute much with regard to what they do in their position, in my opinion, but yet they're basically idolized. And a lot of them are pushing messages and symbols. Again, symbols is another thing I've looked into a bit. Symbols and words are so powerful. So when you're seeing these celebrities flashing symbols, and an obvious one, so you've got Jay-Z with the pyramid, and I don't want to talk about them bits too much, but consumerism, Illuminati, false idols, it all kind of goes hand in hand. So leading on to the Illuminati, I do definitely believe it exists. I believe it's very much made a a kind of a joke subject now, because it's become like a mainstream thing. So you'll have a lot of people using it in their songs or purposefully talking about it to draw attention to themselves. I don't think the Illuminati is one thing. I think that it is kind of an umbrella term for esoteric groups, so kind of hidden groups that operate amongst us. In the music industry, I mean, so I'm big into music. I always have been. When you look at music videos in particular nowadays, when you listen to songs, the imagery in particular is crazy. And I mean, even when you look at labels that a lot of these musicians are bringing out, like clothing labels, I just think that I don't believe in coincidences. I think too many coincidences stack up, and you see the same things over and over again, whether it's different celebrities doing it, whether it's different singers, actors, presenters, which leads me on to the news, which I actually didn't write down on here, but it's just come into my head. So the news, I researched this before, and from what I remember, there are 6, so in the US, there are 6 main corporations that own something like 128 different outlets. Just think about that. I might not be getting the numbers exactly right, but it was a staggering amount of numbers. It was a very small amount of corporations that own many outlets. So you think you've got choice. In reality, you don't, because you're being fed information from someone. I do believe in such thing as crisis actors. I do believe in false flag attacks. I do believe, let me see, so 9/11, I without a doubt believe was an inside job, and I do believe that in my lifetime that will be found out. For me, I can't believe when people still believe the official story. Almost as soon as I saw it live happening, well, on the TV happening, I thought it looked suspect. The more I've looked into it, to me it's unbelievable that someone would still believe the story that the news are telling them on the tell-lie vision. So televisions are another funny thing, because from my understanding, they followed a similar format to Nazi Germany, where, again, from my understanding, Hitler made sure that everyone had a radio in their houses, again, for propaganda purposes. You look in most people's houses, you've got a television, propaganda, you've got the news, again, you've got adverts on there. You've got something being pushed at you, some form of view being pushed down your throat in one form or another. You're almost bombarded with messages on a daily basis on there. History, so I believe that, so we often think that we are so advanced mentally, technologically in this day and age. I believe that we had reached way further advancements previously. Again, I do think that history can be suppressed, and again, when you go back to school and then you're being taught a certain way, maybe you're not always taught to question, or maybe you just believe everything that's told to you. But I don't believe that's the case with history. I do believe that there were civilizations that were more advanced than us now. Right. So technology, this is an interesting one. So I find it highly odd that in the last 100 or so years, I feel like the advancements have almost gone from about 0 to 100 rapidly. Prior to that, they were sort of trickles of advancements. And then over the last 100 or so years, it just exploded from everything that you see with technology-wise that we have now as human beings. I don't know if there's more to it. Maybe there is some sort of scientific explanation to it. I just think that that's quite a big leap. So RFID chips, I've done a video on that before. They are without a doubt going to come. Again, it will be a further form of control. Again, I look at us as livestock. enslaved in a system. So we're going to be monitored. So in a way, it's kind of a branding. When you brand a cow and then you know which farm it belongs to, it's going to be somewhat along those lines. So you'll get a chip. It will have all your details on there. I wouldn't be surprised if there'll be a GPS in there so that you can be monitored at all times. Again, all forms of control. Since 9/11, the amount of security cameras that went in. I'm from London, so there's security cameras every street you go on pretty much. And 9/11 in particular, I think, was the catalyst for this whole master plan that's going on, because it changed a lot of people's mentality, because you had a lot of people now saying, oh, well, I've got nothing to hide, so yeah, you can monitor me, NSA, government, FBI, whoever you are, you can monitor us now. Whereas prior to that, people would have fought against it. Whereas, again, you put a terrorist attack in there, and yeah, people's mentality changes. Which goes on to where I'm saying about livestock. If we were just whipped all the time, as if we were slaves, we would fight back. But if we're let free in a system where we think that we're in control, who are we going to be fighting? And we'll be fighting amongst ourselves, because we'll think that, well, I'm doing this from free will. Because there's no one whipping me, is there? So I can walk where I want and whatnot. Okay, you try living without money in this world and see how far it gets you, if you think that you're under so much free will. That's pretty much all from me. I know I'm wide open for trolls on this video. I've been very, very candid. I've literally said my beliefs on every system that came, on every thought that came to my mind with regard to maybe why I make decisions in life, my philosophies, my beliefs. But yeah, hopefully you guys will see this, and hopefully something I've said will resonate with someone or spark an interest, or maybe everyone that sees this video thinks the same way as me. That would be amazing. But that is going to be all from me. I believe that's everything on the list that's covered. That's probably not everything in the world. I'm sure more things will come to me eventually. It's weird how the brain works. But yeah, that's all from me, guys. So thanks a lot for your time. I know it's quite a long video, 22 minutes. For anyone that stayed this long, you're amazing. Yeah, give it a like, a share, a thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you do comment, please leave it as like a constructive comment, not just, oh, you're gay or you're shit or something like that. Just, yeah, just have something of interest amongst your comment there. But that's all from me, guys. Thanks a lot for your time. Cheers. Bye.